order, please. Chris, would you like to give us invitation, please?
Yes, Mr. Mann. Dear Heavenly Father, Creator of all things, Lord, we come to you at this time, Lord. We just thank you for the beautiful day you've given us, Lord. We just pray that you will watch over those that are ill today, Lord. I just pray that you will be with those that are overseas and fighting battles for our country, Lord, and standing up for our rights and as individuals, Lord. I just pray that you will be with this committee. We'll make sound decisions, Lord, as we consider these acts before us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Approval of the July 16th meeting, please.
I'll have second.
That'd be roll call.
Oh, yeah.
Do a roll call, please.
Bill Anglin,
Here and yes.
Bill John Baker,
Here and yes.
Jack Baker,
Here and yes.
Harley Buzzard,
Here and yes.
Julia Coates,
Here, yes.
Bradley Cobb, Joe Crittenden,
Here and yes.
Jody Fishinghawk,
Here, yes.
Meredith Fraley,
Here, yes.
Janelle Fulbright,
Here, and yes.
Don Garvin,
Yes.
Chuck Hoskin,
Here and yes.
Tina Glory Jordan,
President, yes.
Chris Soap,
Ani, yes.
Curtis Snell,
Yes, here it is.
David Thornton,
Yes.
Kara Callan Watts.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
may I say something before we get started?
Yes, please.
For those people who are new to this struggle we have ahead of us, I'd like to introduce you to our ex officio member, John Masters. He has a birthday, September 29th. He'll be 86 years old. And he and Mrs. Masters, Doris, that always brings food, they've been married 60 years this year. And Mr. Masters, would you like to say something to the committee here?
I'd like to say that ever since Chief Keeler, I served under every chief. And the people that worked for Cherokee Nation down through the years have really been helpful for me, and I appreciate everything that they've done, and I think you can do a whole lot more if you just get after it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Reports of Natural Resources. Angela Drews.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
have we approved the minute?
Yes.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, committee members. I'm going to start handing around some information that we'll talk about during my report, so we'll just hand those out. I've had the pleasure to get to meet some of you new council members, some of you I haven't, so you'll just have to bear with me until I can get everyone's names down. But again, my name is Angela Drews. I'm the director of our Natural Resources Program for the Cherokee Nation. I know you've had some orientation, from what I understand, a lot of orientation thrown at you pretty quickly. Just to give you a quick overview of the Natural Resources Program, it's made up of 37 staff members. There is a Delaney field office, and then there is a Kenwood field office, and at those locations, that is where most of our field staff is located that is taking care of the tribal land. Natural Resources is essentially responsible for the management and the upkeep of Cherokee Nation's tribal land. We also, our office here in Tahlequah, the administrative staff is located behind the Restaurant of the Cherokees in the old Jolly Gee Motel. So if any of you would like to come visit with me or any of my staff, we are on the side that faces the highway, and we are upstairs. So if you'll come up there, our names are on the windows beside our doors, and we welcome any of you to come and visit our office, and we look forward to working with all of you. I believe everybody is still getting a monthly report in your booklet that you get. every month that updates you on what's going on with our programs. One of the things that I would draw your attention to is, at this point in the year, I believe everything should be about 86% complete. You have to keep in mind on natural resources work that starting in about mid-April is when we really get busy with our numbers, as far as when we start doing our pasture planting and fertilizing and chemical and weed control, and that's because of the time of the year that it is. So there may be times during the year when you're looking at the report and you'll think, well, they're not where they should be as far as percent complete for the year, but just remember that a lot of the work that we do is seasonal. Some of the things that you'll look at also on our monthly report, some of the chemical weed control, seedbed preparation, there are some things in this report that are not where it should be. On chemical weed control, we did not get the funding that we normally get from the BIA this year for our noxious weed control. The funding was cut across the state, and the people that go from the Bureau to go, they basically sit down and people turn in noxious weed reports, and they all sit down and go through the scoring system to determine who's going to get what, and most people walked away with not even half of the money that they had been getting previously for noxious weed funding. We did get funded about a quarter of what we've gotten in the past, but that has not come through the funding yet from the Bureau. So on chemical weed control, that's why that is down. On seedbed preparation, we are no longer doing that. So that will actually be coming off of the report. The reason for not doing the seedbed preparation any longer was it is an EQIP project that we were doing, and we were just not getting the return on that investment, because most of the work that we do on the tribal land is going on to land that is then being leased out to folks, and you're not seeing a return on that investment for several years because we're not getting back the amount on those leases that it takes to put these practices on the ground. So this report will be adjusted a little bit probably next month, because there are some things in here that the numbers will either be adjusted on or completely taken off. So if you have any questions about any of my monthly report at any time, just give me a call, and me or one of the technicians can explain to you what the differences are. Some Gadoogie projects that we have been working on. We hauled sand for the Dry Creek Waterline project. We hauled pipe for the Dry Creek Waterline project. The natural resources staff has been working very closely with the facility staff and doing tree trimming. The majority of that has been taking place at the CDC, Powwow Grounds, Courthouse Square, and we are now up at Marcoma working on that site. We are still looking for a docent for Saline Courthouse. We have sent out a couple of applications and questionnaires to folks that are interested in that position. So again, I would encourage you, if you know of any elders or anyone that would be interested in being the docent at Saline Courthouse, have them contact me at 822-2988, and we'll get a questionnaire out to them for that position. We continue to work on phase 1 of the master plan at Saline Courthouse, and for those of you who are new, you may have heard mention of the Cherokee Nation National Park plan, and the Saline Courthouse was the first one to have a complete plan developed on that. If you are a new council member and would like a copy of that plan, I think we have some of those in our office that we can duplicate for you. So again, if you'll call me at the cell phone number I gave you, or the direct line there is 453-5340, or just email me at adrews@cherokee.org. We can get you a copy of that. We have started working on phase 1, which is the spring house and the new bridge at that location. We just recently, Todd Enlow signed off on the contract for Fritz and Bailey, which is the architect. He's going to come in and do some pre-work before the contractor comes in and actually starts doing the taking apart and putting back together of the spring house. You can see that work starting, I would say, within the next month. but the money for it is going to have to roll over into the next fiscal year because there's no way we can get everything done by September 30th to get it completed and paid for. So that work is fixing to begin. We completed a new guest registry for the Saline Courthouse, and at this time I'll go ahead and talk about what I handed out. Can I borrow this for just a second? This shows you how many people have visited the Talentesky Courthouse. For those of you how many people have visited this courthouse? It's located over by Gore. This site was in need of a lot of work and is still in need of a lot of work, but Natural Resources staff went out this summer and we went and we pulled weeds and we painted and we planted flowers. We did as many things as we could do with the resources that we had to at least make this site look better. There is some structural issues at this location that are going to have to be addressed. Two of the structures there are replicas, and then there is an original building there, but all three of those buildings are in need of some attention, which have been put in the capital improvement plan that was submitted to the Strategic Budget Committee by Todd. So we will eventually get the structural issues taken care of, but we did want you to see that people do visit our historic sites. There were 40 states that have represented people that have visited this site, and there are 8 different countries that have visited this site just in the last year. And I thought the comments were really nice. Unforgettable history, great history notes, very worthy museum. Thank you for the upkeep of this wonderful piece of history. So just know that we're doing what we can with the resources that we have, and hopefully we'll get the structural issues addressed in the near future as well. Our geodata staff conducted a tour for a community group from the Oaks community. Any of your communities that are interested in coming up and seeing the capabilities that are possible through geodata, as far as folks possibly wanting to do community planning and don't have a good broad overview of what's in their community and maybe the best way to start growing and looking at where new acquisitions might need to be made, have them come visit with us. I'd also like to make note at this time, for those of you who have gotten to know the staff in geodata, Robert Stokes, who is the manager of that program, is taking a new job. He was offered the president's job of a mapping company in Oklahoma City. We are very sad to see Robert go. He's an excellent employee and very knowledgeable about geodata, and we really hate to see him go, but he has been an exceptional employee and we hate to see him leave, but hopefully it'll give a chance for somebody else to move into the position and do just as good. So we facilitated the locating and securing of poles for the stickball field that's being established at Marcoma. For those of you that didn't realize there was going to be a new stickball field, there will be a new field there. We have completed the clearing for the new power lines that are being established at Salisaw Creek Park. So before September 30th, the money that was allocated for that site will be spent on getting electricity there. So, and that is our first phase of getting some security at this location. We will eventually, as soon as we get the electric put in, start trying to find someone that will come and stay at the site, and we'll eventually have some sort of gate system put up to where we can cut down on the amount of vandalism and things that go on at that site as well. And then there are some long-term development plans for that site as well. So lots of good things happening in the background. We've been working with the environmental program on doing the American Burying Beetle Survey for the Chewy Road project. So Pat Gwynn has been going out with one of Janine Hell's staff. His name just escaped me, but they have been taking chicken out and baiting for the American burying beetles in this heat. So if you see those guys, tell them good job. We have participated in a group effort with the Muskogee County Conservation District and the Creek Nation to acquire a no-till drill that will be available to our tribal citizens at a reduced rate. And for any of you who are farmers, you know that during a real dry summer or a dry farming season, that a no-till drill is still a good way to get your crops put in, but the drills themselves are fairly expensive. And the Muskogee County Conservation District approached us about if they provided half of the funding, would the Cherokee Nation and the Creek Nation each come up with $3,500 each to go toward the drill, and then tribal members would have an advantage over just someone who was not a tribal citizen and being able to rent the drill. Now, we're still working out the fine details in the memorandum between us and the Conservation District, but if memory serves me correctly, and I'll get a copy to all of you what that's going to be so you'll know, I think they're going to be able to rent this drill at $5 an acre, and that's cheap. So, and tribal members will have preference over non-tribal members. We worked on ridding the concession stand at the powwow grounds. There was a really bad bee infestation out there, and so Natural Resources staff went out and took care of that. We are currently working with the environmental programs on the 2008 wildlife grant opportunities, so we are working with them on determining maybe what one of the best things to write for is, and hopefully we'll come up with something that can score well and have a chance. For the last few years, we've applied and did not get it, so this year we're hoping to get something. We continue to meet with a diverse group of tribal programs focused on growing and enabling sustainable Cherokee communities. And we recently, Pat Gwynn, again, Pat does a very diverse set of things for the Natural Resources Program. He's an environmentalist, but he has recently been working with the U.S. National Park Service and the Wild Turkey Federation on getting turkey feathers, and we recently, I believe it was on Monday of this week, got 300 feathers, and we've already given them all out to traditional archers. They want the best feathers for their blowguns, and then tribal artisans and crafters that mainly paint on the feathers have come and picked up the rest of them, and those two groups of folks have been extremely excited about getting those feathers. So again, really proud of Pat for those efforts. And I think that finishes up my report, unless you guys have got any questions.
Do we currently have any assistance that we can provide farmers and ranchers for the thistle problem?
We are doing that on our own tribal property, but we do not have a program where we can help anyone that's not leasing from us.
Do we look for some grants to see if maybe there might be something out there where we could assist them? I don't know about your counties, but it's a big problem here. With the thistle problem, you're supposed to take care of your thistles on your land, but if your neighbor doesn't, they just blow right back on and seed again. And if you don't eradicate, it's a sanction problem with the state.
And what we have done before in the past with those tribal members that aren't leasing land from us, where we take care of the thistle ourselves, we do have outreach meetings, and we notify them of programs that are available to them through the USDA, but we can look at some grants.
If you could, I would appreciate it for my constituents, because that is a concern for them. You're from Auburn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And another thing.
Fielding.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Pam and Doc are
Okay.
my parents. Another thing we have looked at, and maybe it's something that you might want to have a part in, is developing our own tribal conservation district, because we do not have one at this time. So that may be something that we need to look at.
Well, every year it gets a little bit more of a problem, and it's really in this county right now, and I would suspect probably in some of our neighboring counties, it's become a big, big problem.
One of the things, I know that some people, especially our people that do our native games and our traditional games, is, thistle is used in making the darts for blowguns. And so I always try and let people know that even though on our agriculture units, we have to control our thistle, or those units become, they can, well, you know very well how they can just become totally infested with that, and then it ruins your unit, plus it gets over on your neighbor. But we are also looking at places where we can contain to a degree that from spreading, because there are artisans that and traditional game people that want to use the product that comes from a thistle too. So just keep that in mind too, that some of your constituents, thistle is going to be important to them, and so they'll say, why are you trying to get rid of all of it? So you can let them know that Natural Resources is taking care of trying to keep some for those who want it as well.
Have any questions? On this courthouse in the Illinois River, do we spend very much funding down there, or do you spend very much funding?
Can you say that again?
Do you spend very much funding on that courthouse down on the Illinois River?
Palatiski?
Palatiski?
I would say we probably just in the beautification, that's what I call it, that we went down there and did, I would say between man hours and supplies that we bought, we probably put $1,500 into it.
Those people that keep that open, that they do that for the housing that's there?
Yes.
The house that's there, they live there. I know right now the state's interested in maybe moving that to the Sequoia's home, and I don't know if we would be interested in doing that. And another thing is, that's not the original site,
Right.
and I don't know what, you know, it may be better off if we wouldn't move it over to Sequoia's home. I don't know, but I'd like you to look at that, see what's
Okay.
going on there.
We can do that.
Contact Bud Smithson,
Smithson?
state representative from Sallisaw. Bud Smithson. I know that they're very interested.
Did you say you don't have this
The
phone?
state used to own it.
Yeah.
From
Okay.
All right, I think Harley had a question.
Angie, who owns the site now?
We do.
Oh, that's the Cherokee Nation owned facility?
Yeah.
Linda, do you want to?
The state actually still owns that.
They still have-
We had an agreement with the state that we would put so much money into the property, and then they would turn it over to us. And as of this day, they still have not turned it over to us. And I know Mr. Baker knows a little bit about it.
Mr. Chair, can I address that? Yes, I talked with Bob Blackburn, who's head of the Oklahoma Historical Society, who does have the deed to the property, and he's supposed to, he may have already filled out the deed, quitclaim deed for us and signed it, because he was not aware it had not been transferred. They had it in their notes that it was to have been transferred back in the 90s, and it was not done. But I'm going to pick up the deed from him when I'm back in Oklahoma City.
I thought it had been transferred and the Bureau hadn't posted it.
No, but it's a state thing.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know if this is the question on the table, but I wouldn't want to give anything up to the state of Oklahoma if it came to a vote. That's what I'm hearing, so I would hope we would proceed with obtaining it from them. Thank you.
Harley, you got?
Yes, my other comments, Angie, can you work up a budget on what it would cost to get that back up into presentable?
Have you already got that in the capital improvement plan? It's in the capital improvement plan, but I can, if you want to see just
I can see it separated out somewhere. I got a couple more quick questions for you. And you may not know the answer to this, and you might too. They used to have a heavy equipment school operators class at Bull Hall. Do you know how that was funded, or do you know anything about that? The reason I ask is, in roads, we have a lot of construction here, and we have a lot of Indian boys and women that like to do that construction work. And I just think there's a place for some training that can be done with heavy equipment. I don't know if you remember that back. It's been years since that happened.
I know that there was natural resources staff, Harley, Woody Wilson for one, that actually went through that trainer school. So I don't know that historical knowledge, but I can get it and report back to you.
I'd like to know how that was funded. Got one last question, is, and some of the council members may can answer this, or you may answer yourself, is this courthouse down where we're just talking about, has that been discussed on the tourism route for the Cherokee Nation tours?
Down by Talenteski?
Yes.
What is the name of that school? We have looked at a school.
Well, I'm talking about the courthouse itself. There's a tourism committee that's being formed, and what my question is, has this been looked at and put on the tour route?
I'm sure it has. I haven't seen the exact route that's been laid out.
Yes, it has.
Is one of the locations, and we were also discussing the issue that Mr. Thornton brought up that was actually not the original location of the courthouse.
Okay.
Would it be more advantageous to possibly look at doing something that would be a better location?
Okay.
We're just throwing that idea around, but the Talenteski courthouse is on that tour schedule.
Okay, thank you.
Two more questions? Member of the Real Estate Service?
Oh, good afternoon. I'm Linda Donaldson, for those who may not know me. I'm the Director of the Real Estate Services for Cherokee Nation, and I have 14 staff members, and everyone at our office is willing to work with any of your constituents on their land problems or their situations that they have on their properties. And we are located in the complex at the east end of the building. It's the old place where the county used to be. Okay. And my report is basically we met with in July we met with 94 individual clients, and we had 912 phone calls that we either received or returned. And we had 58 site inspections that we went on. We had 3 airships completed for purposes of IIM accounts. And we had 1 hunting lease approved by the BIA. This is on a restricted Indian land tract. We had 1 smoke shop lease approved. We had 3 residential leases approved by the Bureau. There were 13 grazing leases approved in July. These leases complete the 5-year grazing lease cycle. We finally got all of them back from the Bureau. There were 90 units. These include the fee land units, and there were a total of 58 lessees. We had 1 mutual help home transferred in trust that was 0.25 acres that went out of USA and Trust for Cherokee Nation to this individual. We had 3 mutual help homes where the individuals asked for it to be taken out of trust, and it went into fee. That was a loss of 2.71 acres of trust land that used to be Cherokee Nation's, and is now just gone. And we had 5 home visits. We had 6 jurisdictional calls for the marshals and ICW. We had 7 white title suits come in last month. We had 4 will interviews that we did, and those will interviews were completed and had 4 wills completed before a judge. These that are done before a judge are full-blood Indians who have restricted land that have to recertify on their transfer of property through a will. We also did 32 county researches. Now those are just basically those dry numbers that we give you. And as for what highlights that we've had that we want to mention for last month, we did our first mandatory trust application that was submitted to the BIA. This is on the Arkansas Riverbed settlement area. And that acquisition area consists of 5 sections of property in 1 section in McIntosh County, 3 sections in Muscogee County, and 1 section in Sequoia, 3 in Muscogee and 1 in Sequoia. And the property that we asked to be put in the trust is 255 acres off of Ross Road. That's right off of I-40. And it's in section, it's in Township 12, Range 20. And that's in Muscogee County. So that's going to be our first test of the Arkansas Riverbed
Settlement Act where they said they'd give us mandatory trust if we bought property in that area and asked for it to be in trust. They said, if we do that, they'll put the trust for us. We got that in exchange for our giving up the low river area properties that had already been settled on and they didn't want to do quiet titles on and try to get it back for us. So they said, give those up and we'll give you these. So we're going to see how this works. We also were working on a restricted tract of land in Ramona for a William Shawnee family that is moving along. We got our appraisal back, but we got one setback on the environmental in that they are wanting a traffic study and an archaeological survey. So now we're having to do more contracts to get more things done. So we'll be working towards that to see if we can't get that moved along. We did have a foreclosure on a citizen's house in Adair County. This house is on fee land, but to get to the house, you had to cross restricted land. The restricted land easement was not a valid easement, so we informed the bank that they didn't have a way to get to the house. So right now, that foreclosure has been postponed. So that gives our landowner a little more time to try to work with the bank to come up with the situation while they try to deal with this easement problem. We also have contacted the Collinsville people about a cemetery that the county of Tulsa. We had talked to the attorney on that where they were going to transfer 3 acres of cemetery property in Collinsville to the Cherokee Nation. They have that on their agenda for the end of the month to do the transfer. So hopefully that'll go through because we have a cemetery association that would like to lease an acre of that cemetery land to put a community building on it. So we'll be moving forward on that one too. And that's basically my report. Do you have any questions?
Linda, I've got a question. I didn't hear it completely, but did you say there's been one house put back into trust?
Well, one house was transferred from Cherokee Nation Trust to an individual in trust.
Okay, my question is, a person has trust land, they built an MH house, can they put that 1 acre back into trust?
They possibly can, but it's going to be difficult.
But it can be done.
But it might be able to be done. They've not been putting a lot of things in the trust lately. We've had a lot of problem with the Bureau on that aspect. But it's like it's restricted. Okay, you may be saying it's restricted.
What's restricted?
Okay, it was restricted. They took it out of restrictions because they wanted a house on it.
Yes.
They paid it off now. There's no mortgages or anything. From what the BIA people have told me is that this is the ones that they like to do. That if they took it out of restrictions to put it a house on it and they paid it all off, then they say, well, they would like to look at those to put them back under a restricted status or a trust status because they took it out for a reason of just to get a home.
Yes.
And they can see that a lot easier than you saying, well, I've sold a piece of land over here and I want this over there and I want to put a smoke shop on it or I want to put some kind of business on it or something like that. We're having problems with those kind.
And the procedure is to come to your office.
Right, come to my office and make the application and we'll help them with the procedure to go through.
Thank you.
Mr. Garland? Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As probably most of you already know, the city of Warner was lucky enough to get a new McDonald's just recently, and supposedly their sales tax doubled in 1 month. The reason I mention that, the property just across I-40 on the corner of I-40 and Highway 2 is for sale. I think it's about 60 or 70, maybe 80 acres, and I don't think it's in the Arkansas corridor, but
I think it's just outside it.
But it's an ideal corner, you might keep in mind.
Okay, we'll get a look at that.
Corner of Highway 2 and I-40.
Okay.
Southeast corner, I should say. Thank you.
Mr. Cobb? I'm the counselor from Washington County. Is an archaeological dig a normal thing? And if not, where did that come from?
That is suggested by the state on these bases. When you're doing an environmental, sometimes when they're looking at certain sections of the property, they may see that that was a prime location for an Indian settlement at one time, and so they may say that an archaeological survey is in order, because we want to be sure that if you're going to do a development on this piece of property, that you're not going to do it on a cattle mound or something like that.
Tyler, you're up.
Follow up on Harley's question, is that 47 revision, is it just dead now? To put the land back in restricted status?
Basically it is.
They were floating the idea with Congress that we would revise the 1947 Act, and then all these houses that came out to fee simple, there was a way that we could put them back in restricted, that land back in restricted status, and I didn't know what had happened to that, whether it just...
It made it through the House, I think, at one time, and it couldn't get through the Senate. It just kind of died. And David Mullen was working on it with us here at that time, and then by the time that all happened, he ended up going to the Senate as a Senate committee member, and as a result, it just kind of got lapsed.
Yeah, Senator Amhoff, he killed that bill there in the Senate, Tommy, because it was too much restriction. They're going to give up too much rights to the 5 cell rights tribe, and he killed it. Because the old people out in western Oklahoma called it.
Well, the additional thing is, brings them back off the tax rolls. When they're paid off, they go to the ad valorem taxes, and then we'd be jerking them back off. Wouldn't want to push that a little bit and see if we can revive it, would you?
Well, we could look into it. It had a lot of good things in it.
Yeah, it did.
It was one of the things that was a killer on it, I think, was the adverse possession piece, where we wanted to have no more adverse possession of restricted Indian land. And the oil and gas companies just hit the ceiling on that one.
We maybe could compromise, take that out for now, and see if we could float that idea of getting those. That's almost 5,000 pieces of property that could go back in restricted status, you know.
And that may be something we need to bring up with our Attorney General's office to get something back going with it. Okay. And Brad, just one other thing about the archaeological survey. It's actually a survey of the land where they go out and make sure that there's no problems. There's no digging at that point.
More questions?
Okay, thank you.
Roads and Transportation, Michael Lynn.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Lynn. I'm the director of the Roads Program for Cherokee Nation. We fall under Community Services. However, I do report here in the Resources Committee. Just to tell you a little bit about our department, I think, like Angie said, you guys have been through a lot of orientation. I don't know what you've heard about us, but I'll tell you just real briefly what we're made up of. We've got about 25 staff when we're fully staffed. We're made up of administration, planning, survey, design, right-of-way, construction, inspection. And we do everything as far as road construction goes, all the way up to the point of construction. We contract all that out or work with the county commissioners, whatever the case may be. I'll go ahead and get into my report. I'll start with the federally funded projects. Sometimes you might hear them referred to as IRR projects, or Indian Reservation Roads, what that stands for. But again, these are the federally funded projects. We've got a couple of different projects going on in Mays County, Cedar Crest Road, Cedar Crest Bridge. Those are, we're in the last final stages of negotiations with landowners on those two particular projects. We're waiting on an appraisal to come back on one landowner's property around the bridge site. And hopefully that we'll be able to finalize something once the appraisal comes back on that. If not, we will have to move and seek further action through the county commissioners on those projects. We've got a project going in Delaware County. That's the Daytown Dry Creek project. It's moving along. It's just started, under 5 to 7% complete. They've started clearing and grubbing. The first phase, they broke the job. It's an 8.5-mile job. They broke it up into 3 phases. First phase has been cleared. Some fencing started. But it is moving along at a good pace. Fairview Uchi 2 project, also there in Delaware County. Near finishing up. It's going to be a really good-looking project. It goes through the Spavinal Wildlife Management Area. I would encourage you, once it is completed, to take a drive up there and look at it. It's a really, really pretty drive going through there. Probably in the next 60 days, it'll be near completed. I don't want to say completely finished, but I think in the next 30 to 45 days, they'll have some asphalt up there. And then after that, it's just a matter of cleanup, signing, striping, guardrail, things like that. But hopefully next 60 to 90 days, that'll be completed. Got the Twin Oaks Bull Hollow project, also there in Delaware County. That project is 50 to 60% designed. That is the same project for those of the former council members here, the same project that the Saline Creek Bridge is on. That project we chose to break in 2 phases. There's a bridge project on there as well as a road. We've already built the bridge. It's completed. Got about 1.5 miles of roadway approaching the bridge. But the bridge is completed, and then this road, this Twin Oaks Bull Hollow Road, will tie into that bridge and make for a complete project. We've got the Honey Hill Road in Adair County. That's in the final stages also of right-of-way acquisition. That has been turned over to the county commissioner and the district attorney for this district, and they are working on filing condemnation. Our Cherokee Nation legal staff have been working very closely with the district attorney's office, and I think we're getting fairly close to having something filed on that. Red Barn Road here in Cherokee County, a 6-mile job. It's approximately halfway complete, 50% complete. We've had a lot of slowdowns out there as far as weather, utility issues, but it is moving along. I think that it should be wrapped up probably the end of this calendar year or shortly thereafter. That's our anticipation. We've got another job here in Cherokee County that's under design, Holbert Lost City Road, that ties into that Red Barn Road I just spoke of, and takes you towards the Holbert area, towards the Holbert Lost City area. That's probably 80% design, so we're close to having a plan in hand, what we know to call the plan in hand on that. Go out and review the set of plans, look for any changes. It's kind of the last plan check of that, what that plan in hand is for. Ricewood Road, also here in Cherokee County. Again, also similar to the others that I mentioned, it's in the final stages of right-of-way. We were not able to come to an agreement with 5 landowners on that particular project. That's been turned over to the county commissioner and district attorney, and condemnation has been filed on those 5 landowners. So we're waiting to hear from the courts. I think the next court date is in October. There'll be some what they call commissioners or appraisers assigned, and they will go out and value the property, and then we will take it from there, pay what they consider a fair market value into an escrow account, and then we can proceed with construction. A couple more. Barber Road here in Cherokee County. That's a new one we just recently started working on. We've got all of our survey work completed. Just now beginning the design work on it. It's just now getting started. One reason we've been pushing that project there is there's a water line going through there that Community Services is also responsible for, the Water and Sanitation Department. It's a community self-help water line project that's going through there. So we're trying to push to get that road designed and the right-of-way limits established so that right-of-way acquisition can begin and they can start putting the water line in as well as get a new road. And then last I want to mention the Stickross Loop Road. It's this loop road right outside the wall here. Goes back by the powwow ground, ties back into 62 Highway. We've overlaid that project. It's approximately 3/4 complete. Should be wrapping up in the next couple of weeks with striping, some new signs, and some shouldering work that needs to be done to bring the shoulders up so that there's not quite such a drop off there. But next week and a half, that should be wrapping up. We've got, as far as our non-IRR project or non-federal project, we've got some tribal projects that are funded with motor fuel tax dollars and motor vehicle tax dollars. I've got 3 projects coming from Mays County, sponsored by Councilperson Fraley. I got a North 437 road, coal striping and a coal string road overlay. Same road, they just chose to break it up into 2 separate applications because of the 2 separate funding sources. Those total $131,356. They will be coming to the Executive Finance Committee this month for approval. I want to mention a couple of other things. We've got a couple of Gadugi projects going in Sequoyah County. We're working with Sequoyah County and the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife and Cherokee Nation are designing a road and parking lot down to what we're calling the Watts Wildlife Area. That's for those of you that are familiar with that area. There was some land purchased down on the river by the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife for a boat ramp, fishing hole, whatever you want to call it. I think they may do a little camping down there. The Commissioner Carter in Sequoyah County has secured some federal funding, and he's just asking us to assist him with some design and engineering work. So, working there. Also, another site there was brought up a little bit ago by Councilor Thornton, the Sequoyah home site. We're doing a little design and engineer work there with designing a parking lot. I've just seen pictures of it, but what I've seen, the parking lot is not near large enough for the crowds they sometimes handle, and the tour buses they tell me that come in there. So we're working with them on that, try to get something a little bit better for them and a little bit better design. And then last thing I want to mention, last month there was an issue that was brought up here in Cherokee County on the Hilltop Circle or Hilltop Estates, I believe, as far as who maintains that road. I think there was some phone calls made to the tribal council members. Councilperson Connor actually brought it to my attention about the road having potholes in it and things like that. I did not know at the time who maintained it, and I have since found out that Commissioner Doug Hubbard, Cherokee County, does maintain that, and he said that he will get it on the list and get it graded. I spoke to him on August 13th, so hopefully by now it would be done. I don't know that for a fact, but I would hope that it would be. That is all that I have to report.
Your question, please. Question.
Michael, do you have an estimated time of resolution on the project that you mentioned with the bridge earlier in your summaries?
I really don't. As far as once it's turned over to the district attorney and the court system, nothing happens very fast. And once that takes place, it really is out of our control. We can try to push the buttons as best we can, but it is somewhat out of our control. I really don't have a good estimate for you at this time.
More question, Harley?
Michael, you may have mentioned the Fort Gibson project, where is that, and the one out near Hobart, I can't remember the name of that.
Hobart Lost City?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I did mention that one. That one is probably 80% design. They're supposed to have that wrapped up around the first of the year, end of this calendar year. We're going to schedule a plan in hand on that really very soon, and that's on the Hobart Lost City. I did not mention the Northeast Fort Gibson Road. That is another one that is being designed. It's not. I don't know. I don't have a good accurate percentage on what percent it is designed, but it's very minimal at this point.
Yes, Tom.
Are you going to go from the edge of the city of Hobart to 4 Mile Corner on Hobart Lost City? Is that, how far are you going down?
Actually, the Hobart Lost City Road for the locals around there's what I think they call it Grace Hudlin Road. Are you familiar with that?
Okay, so you're
That's
not
the same
really on
road.
the Lost City Road.
No,
You're
not-
over on the other, the one that loops in.
No, not. Yeah, it's the Grace Hudlin Road. That's the one you're calling the loop. Yes, ma'am. That's the one that we're going to be.
Might consider Hobart Lost City.
And that's
True Hobart
that's
Lost
the
City
true
Road.
Hobart Lost City, right?
Okay, so
And we-
you're gonna come out there at the bottom of the hill,
Yes.
Wings Corner, that, I think that's what we all know it is.
Yes.
And you're gonna go straight on through and come on and loop around?
Towards the bridge down there, I believe, yeah. Now, we did put some money on that, what you're calling Holbert Lost City Road last year. I believe that's sponsored by Councilor Baker, on the north end, or on the Pegs end of it, I believe.
Well, now you can come down.
Well, we striped it.
Come on down south
Yeah.
now.
We started going down the mountain too.
Yeah.
We'd love to see the potholes building.
Yeah.
That'd be good. All of us Harbor people. I see noddings of heads back here.
Is that all the roads and transportation?
Yes, sir. But last, I would like to introduce Barry Hood. Barry's our construction manager. There's maybe times where I may be absent, and he will generally fill in up here giving the report, and I wanted everybody to meet Mr. Hood. Yes, that is all that I have today.
Thank you. Public comments on the road issues. Michael, you want to speak again?
Sure. Just to explain that, that is a standing agenda item each month on the agenda. That is just an opportunity for us to capture public comments on any transportation-related item. We have, typically we have a transportation, lost my train of thought, long-range transportation plan, and we always accept public comments on that. That's open all the time, so this is just a standing item on the agenda each month. You'll see that time and time again.
Questions?
Yeah, it gives us opportunity to tell him what a good job he's done, which he always does.
I'll take that too. Thank you.
Facilities, Mr. David Roberts.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm David Roberts with Facilities. We take care of housekeeping, grounds maintenance and landscape, and building maintenance and remodel. I don't have too much to report this month. We mainly just updates on our powwow grounds, Holiday Strip, Marcoma electrical upgrades. We're almost complete with those. We have the softball field, scoreboards up, and things are looking better, so we should be complete by the holiday.
Yes, Gary.
But the powwow ground stuff that we requested and funded, that won't be complete, like concession, bathrooms, and showers won't be complete until after.
It'll start afterwards. I talked to construction management earlier, and they're working on some lower bids.
So did have we upgraded the sewage line?
Not yet. That's in the
So
works.
all a complete entire, okay.
Well, we just got the electrical done right now.
David, can you speak up a little? Speak up a little, can't hear you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Let me add to what Dave said there and try to address Kara's question a little bit more. We were funded about $250,000 for the upgrade of the concession stands out at the powwow grounds. And I think in the Lawson system, it's actually titled as Pavilion. And we went through, did an engineering study working with Billy Hicks and the Water and Sanitation Department. The engineer actually completed the work sometime in late May, and his estimate was about $190,000 for us to complete that. So that leaves it, and his work cost us about $20,000, so that's $210,000. So basically that leaves us with somewhere between $40,000 and $50,000 to rehab the bathrooms, because that was a major complaint of most of the people that use the facility, is that there's not enough restrooms inside there, and then also people that were changing during the powwow, they didn't have any place to actually change without getting sopping wet and dirty, and so we've designed the expansion of the building to add on in two directions, and it allows us to reconfigure those. And so rather than having a women's and a men's restroom in two separate buildings, one will be a men's restroom and the other will be a women's restroom, and we're adding two showers and a changing station that would be well lit enough and spacious enough that we wouldn't have people stepping all over one another, and then upgrading the lighting, and then repainting the building. And the initial estimates that came back from some of the vendors that we looked at to do the remodel. They came back at $75,000 a building, which was astronomical. And then the second vendor came back at almost $100,000 per building. And I thought, man, I could build 2 houses for that amount of money. And so we're putting that back out for bid, and we're also looking to see if we can break that back out. But our goal is to try and get started on it immediately following holiday. I'd hoped we could have had all this stuff done before, but we also didn't want to be right in the middle of construction when holiday hit. So we're intending to get started right after the holiday and get as much of this completed as possible. And the other caveat to all of this is that the lift station for us to acquire or facilitate the new sewer system is at least 6 weeks out. So we were bumping up against the holiday by the time we got everything squared away to make sure we could get the lift station in. So that's kind of where we are and what the issue is.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Earl, you,
Mine's just a comment, David, and I want to commend your group as how to take care of the grounds around the complex here, but you might have to take a look at that big sign in front of the complex, especially before the powwow season, the holiday season comes, and spruce it up a little bit more than what it is now. I noticed the other day that it's probably overlooked a lot of rain, you've got a lot of weeds, it's not that tall. Thank you. Take a look at it. Thank you.
More questions? Old business? None. New business? A resolution authorizing Cherokee National Environmental Program Group to submit a formal grant application to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's Harrison Waste Management Program for the tribe.
Thank you. As the sponsor, I'd like to make a motion to accept this.
Second.
And discuss it briefly. So it's for $79,500 and there's no match required by the tribe. This is a program that we have done previously. It was highly successful to my knowledge. They'll go out into the communities and they will make announcements and they will accept hazardous household waste from community members. It's a pretty good deal. And I appreciate Janine's staff for doing that.
Did you want to comment on that?
I was just available to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Call for the question.
Number 2, we have a resolution authorizing environmental. Take a vote on this number 1 resolution.
Aye.
Aye. Second?
I made the motion and Buell seconded, and so all those in favor would be aye.
Everyone in favor, aye?
Aye.
There we go. Now you got it.
Yep.
Number 2, a resolution authorizing environmental program to submit a formal grant application to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency for a tribal pesticide grant.
Mr. Chair, I'm the sponsor on this one as well as the next one. So I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
And briefly, this is a $50,000 grant with no match required. And it's to decide, do some initial studies to decide if we have any pesticide issues within our streams.
Have a vote on this issue? Do I vote for it? All in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Any opposed? That's resolution number 3. Resolution authorizing Cherokee Nation.
Yes. Would you like me to go? Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm sorry. Okay. On number 3, this is an application for Brownsfield cleanup grant. And as Janine mentioned yesterday in our orientation, rather than an EPA Superfund site, it's now Brownsfield grant. So we look at how we can improve existing sites and reclaim them for use. So there's 2 properties involved in this. There's the Margoma property that has lead-based paint and asbestos issues which need to be remediated. And there's also the Saline Courthouse, which has lead-based paint, which needs to be remediated. The grant is for $100,000. They'll request a matching fee waiver on the Saline Courthouse, but the matching fee for the Margoma property, which is 20%, will be covered by their Margoma escrow account. None of those, neither the grant nor the matching fee, can do indirect costs. With accounting, IDC, or indirect cost, is required. So the IDC will be submitted to the SBC, which is the Strategic Budget Committee, within Chief Smith's administration. So there's an additional $1,610 for indirect costs, which will have to come from the tribe through the Strategic Budget Committee to make this grant possible, affecting both Margoma and Saline Courthouse. So I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
Have a second? The vote? Yes?
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Vote passes. Resolution number 4.
Mr. Chairman. This is a proposal that came out of culture. We have all these leased lands that we do, and there is no preference whatsoever for Cherokees to lease the lands. And so I'd asked Todd, and we had a constituent come in and ask us why didn't we do that. So I had Todd write a shell piece of legislation that I'm really not wanting to pass today. I just want everybody to be thinking about it, to see what we might want to do as far as a council in passing a resolution saying that, hey, we really think that Cherokees ought to have the opportunity to rent our resources for economic development or to help their families or whatever, rather than just strictly coming in with non-Indian commercial farms or whatever, taking the resources and just use them and all we get is the rent, because there is a value to renting land to Cherokee citizens. And now, is that 10%? I don't know, and that's what this body needs to come up with. Is it that we put it out for lease and give the highest bidding Cherokee the opportunity to meet the highest bid, where we get we get the same amount of money for the tribe as we would, but we give that option to the highest bidding Cherokee to come up $1,000. And there'll be arguments that, hey, you won't get any bidders if you do that. Well, maybe you won't, but you'll get Cherokee bidders. And so, like I say, there's the wording on this. I really, now that we've got some lawyers on or additional lawyers on the council and all, I'm going to move to table this till next month. And anybody that is interested in coming up with some wording for this, I would appreciate the help.
Any other comments?
All in favor of table?
All in favor of table? Aye. All opposed, same?
Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn. All in favor? Aye.